it's going to be a massive leveling of the playing field when it comes to entrepreneurial landscape.
That's Sandy Peng, co-founder of Scroll, one of the industry's most visionary technical founders reshaping the blockchain landscape today. Scroll is pioneering secure and scalable technology designed for a truly open economy.
It takes very ingenious entrepreneurs to see the connection between lots of different points and then drawing it together.
Sandy's expertise isn't just theoretical. She's crafted regulatory frameworks at Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission, directly influencing the financial industry we know today.
The wheels are already turning incredibly fast. There are a few big systemic and paradigm changes that are happening simultaneously.
In my catch up with Sandy, she reveals why blockchain's full potential is still massively untapped, shares how Scroll is positioning itself for a major breakthrough, and discusses the critical role content and storytelling play in empowering global entrepreneurs.
Part of the mission for Scroll for building this open economy is to level up the global playing field. Talent is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunities are not. Creating a distributed kind of cryptographic network of trust building is very much contributing to that grander vision.
This episode is your guide to understanding the future of Web3 and blockchain, delivered by someone actively shaping that future. Welcome to the Decent Pod. Let's dive in. How do you lead the team at Scroll?
Have we started? Let me know if we started.
Yeah, we have started.
Okay, we have started. I think with Scroll, for most of us, it's our first major startup, and a lot of things regarding team building, hiring, and managing organization, we're just learning on the fly. I think things are helped by the fact that in Web3, there's a lot of people very passionate, and the thing we do is very specialized with protocol building and ZK, and also very specialized kind of way of education and public awareness and also now we're getting more into the application level development and how to enable that. So with each new kind of business sector and then vertical, the knowledge required is very specialized. And so it's about a process of slowly finding people who are value aligned, who gets energy from working with each other, and also being able to kind of build the infrastructure where someone can come in and do their life's work. So my role has evolved a little bit as the projects evolved. From day one, it was very hands-on and doing a lot of the actual execution, to now, which is thinking a little bit more about how to enable team members, how to enable our ecosystem founders, and just how to make sure that everyone is set up to do what they enjoy doing, really.
I want to pick up on something you said, life's work. Talk to me more about that. How have you stepped into this as Scroll as your life work, and then how do you find that passion in other people?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in the sense that the only way to get really good at what you do is to do something that you're really interested in, and I think how Scroll started. I think I would think of myself as a serial entrepreneur. Actually, that conflicts with my previous statement about this being the first major one. I feel like I was in venture before, and I did a lot of kind of post-investment management, and I see myself as getting closer and closer to the founder journey as we were getting more and more hands-on and more early in the startup process. And but Scroll is the first time when I saw something that was the beginning of Scroll was started with a clear insight, something that we really believe, like a secret that we thought the world had yet to be discovered, that had yet to be discovered by the world. And that was kind of theoretical ZK was gearing up towards real world practical application. It was unclear what that application would be at that point. Just like at the beginning of AI, it was called machine learning, and the expected applied area was very different 10 years ago from the way the AI sector has evolved. And so I see ZK in a similar vein. So there was a previous kind of 2 or 3, I would say 3-4 years ago when we started Scroll, hardly anyone had heard about ZK. And it became a meme, and there was a massive hype for about 2 or 3 years. All you could hear about was ZK, and there's a lot of interest, a lot of serious talent entered the industry in terms of improving the efficiency and efficacy of ZK proofs, and thinking about how it could be applied in real world applications. And then now it's kind of like attention has shifted towards other things like, meme coins, so on and so forth. But it always kind of like the pendulum swings back to fundamentals after a while. But the development hasn't stopped. We've developed, the whole ZK EVM product. The mainnet was launched about a year and a half ago, and the product works really well. And the pro of ZK is starting to become more and more obvious. The con of ZK, which is previously kind of per transaction cost, is becoming more and more negligible. I think we're at that crossover period where within the next few months, we'll see ZK has only pros and no cons going forward. So that's very exciting. And all the while, we've just been slowly churning and improving and upgrading the network with, 30% improvement, like 2x improvements every single time with each upgrade. So it's just slowly churning, and people don't necessarily register each upgrade, but over the course of the year, if you come back again, the improvement in cost and also performance will be very, very noticeable. And so all of that is just requires kind of like constant kind of working. And I think we've assembled a great team who is very specialized at doing this, and also very passionate about kind of, fine-tuning this and also creating and designing the best framework in an open source manner. I think part of our kind of philosophy from day one has been open source. So we benefit from having a lot of open source collaborators around the world. And I think increasingly we are seeing more and more people applying ZK proofs for different use cases. So I think scaling is the big one, and like kind of privacy is another big one, but we haven't seen any real application take off in the sector. And the third part is in data related. How do you kind of aggregate data and how to store some data on chain? All of that is way too expensive right now. And also with the advent of AGI, there will be a lot more experimentation when it comes to attestation of humanness, attestation of human behavior, and attestation of information to prevent fraud and deepfake and so on and so forth.
Can I jump on that attestation of humanness? I come from an acting background, so I'm always looking at the root of human behavior and objectives and how we're collaborating as a culture. Web3 is really fascinating because it is so decentralized and it is so rapid. But I have this real strong belief, conviction in the power of personality and character in the next kind of epoch of what we're heading to, because with the rise of AI, with the increase of functionality, a lot of the things that we have held on to as a culture, as humans, in terms of social media, in terms of content generation, is going to be enhanced, if not taken over by AI. And the idea that we are going to follow people who have a presence and a sense of leadership and a sense of vision, that character is going to be so much more important going forward. So this idea of, attestation of humanness from a technology layer is really, really fascinating. How do you see people using that technology and advancing that verification using ZK, for example, and then the wider blockchain as well?
So I think right now in 2025, when our audience sees this content, they can reasonably deduce that you and me actually sat together, and we can attest that you met a real human being, and all of this happened in real life for whatever that information is worth. But 3 years later, for a similar type of video, most likely it will be a AI generated image who is speaking and also communicating in my voice and tone, and that has. I think that has implications in terms of expanding human agency. So, AI characters where the personality and behavior is tied to a real human's past historical patterns, but can do a lot more work in an infinitely scalable manner. So I can be represented in governance in hundreds of different tokens, and I can have my voice in every single issue that matters, and I can manage my assets on chain, and it can act based on my historical on chain behavior and pattern recognition, and also kind of suggest different strategies that are along the same veins of my usual risk tolerance, and also kind of suggest events or fun activities that matches who I usually talk to and what I usually spending time with. And I think that future, all of the technology stack is ready. There needs to be a catalyst or an event that makes this adoption kind of interesting enough for people, and I think that just requires a story, something to break out, and
With the rise of AI agents and that whole meta, I think the turning point moment was we crossed some sort of threshold in terms of the personalities of these agents. We've gone from chatbot technology through to these platforms, and people like Shore and and the Virtuals protocol and the rest. What I love about the things that they're building is that injected into those protocols are a sense of personality building. How can you put backstory? How can you put vision? How can you put point of view, even language into them, and code that into the system that then also can evolve?
Correct. Yeah.
And I love that idea that at the heart of this ability for us to scale as humans is this sense of proof.
Yeah, correct.
Back to scroll.
Yeah.
So that's like the grand vision, I guess. I'd love to come back to here and now with where the project is at, and you're talking about the benefits of open source and having the community behind. But I know that you're looking now with Scroll Open to focus in that sense of engagement and development and nurturing talent as it comes through. Can you talk to me more about Scroll Open and what you hope to achieve there?
Yeah, of course. So the context for Scroll Open is, I think right now when you look at, so basically I think we're at this very interesting juncture in history where there are a few big like systemic and paradigm changes that are happening simultaneously. One change is, as we're talking about the AI revolution, which means people who are previously non-technical, but have deep insights into a problem or a specific vertical, the time for them to become a like entrepreneur on chain and is now basically. Yeah. For the first time, we have people who are experts in early child development kind of using Replit and all these AI tools and building out blockchain rails to incentivize creators in different native languages. And we have people who are previously architects and using the blockchain rail to help with a lot of the design factors and modular buildings, and to prepare for a human colony on Mars, and how to incentivize, and start gathering the community for people who want to prepare for that future. So there's
if you can visualize it, or correct, if you can articulate it.
Correct. Yeah. So right now, the time for people who are more social beings, who have very high sense of empathy or have very deep understanding in a particular vertical, be it kind of insurance or banking services or how retail, anyone with these kind of like non-technical business insight and understanding of human psychology, I think the time for these type of founders to build something and iterate very quickly is now. And Scroll Open is designed to so maybe I'll talk about the second paradigm kind of shift right now, which is that there's so much, there are so many like tools in the EVM ecosystem, developer tools, support tools, and bits and pieces that you can just kind of, like Lego pieces, piece something together. When you think about some of the breakout kind of AI crypto projects, most of the pieces were existing things that have already existed for a while. Like when you look at like Virtual or Fraser, a lot of the major pieces are things that have existed in the blockchain world already, and it takes very ingenious entrepreneurs to see the connection between lots of different points and then drawing it together. And so that's another thing where there's just lots of bits and pieces of tools that are ready and it's waiting to be assembled, and for someone who identifies a problem and then has a mission. The third part is also really interesting, and it's happening in parallel to the first two major paradigm shifts, which is that we think with AI, there's going to be a massive leveling of the playing field when it comes to entrepreneurial landscape, and I think talents, like raw human talent and business opportunity, is very evenly distributed around the world. But the knowledge and then the experience and the process when it comes to the entrepreneurial process, that is very concentrated in certain regions of the world. So we want to, through the power of content and through the power of Scroll Campus, which is a kind of a offline kind of accelerator style kind of live-in together event, we want to make sure these kind of entrepreneurial processes about how to create good design and how to think about branding and how to leverage content to get your first 10 or 100 customers, and how to articulate your problems, how to leverage all of these AI and also blockchain tools are in existence. So we want to make sure all of these processes are well articulated and shared more widely. And we've been very active in engaging with developer communities around the world, working with a lot of communities in emerging markets. And we want to, and we think this is the time for builders in more areas in the world who can all benefit from these experiences and leverage its power to solve localized problems. So
yeah, you're absolutely like speaking my language, because the technological development is one thing, but the distribution of that knowledge is a completely different activity. And the marriage of communication and storytelling with, some real fundamental technical development that's the secret combination that's needed to really make change, right? I love that, watching some of your team and the content that they're making, and you're really leading from example, leading by example when it comes to, hey, this is what we do, so let us teach you how you can do that yourself.
That's right. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are super technical and they're very product oriented, but they lack support on some of the softer side of communicating the vision and having a very kind of description that lands well with the target user, and also thinking about means of distribution through content and leveraging social media platforms. So all of these things are more generalist skill sets, and and with the right kind of support, I think we just want to group it together so this becomes a funnel for anyone that wants to try their hand at creating and also solving a problem.
If we look at the application of this technology, and I guess to speak to how Scroll is positioned to take on those challenges, what are some of the real world use cases, I guess, that are on the near and far horizon for the technology?
I think the nearest one is still DeFi. I think we are still in the process, a very early process of seeing more and more value to be put on chain. I think in the last year or so, a lot of emphasis has on Bitcoin attracting capital and liquidity and value from offline to an online process. And I think the next stage, people will start the creation of Ethereum is set in a stage where, okay, Bitcoin is to store value, but ETH needs to be the place where you build things. This is the place where it's supposed to be used. It's decentralized ledger, and it's the open economy where every founder can come and have a level playing field of creation and ease of access. And that positioning hasn't changed. There isn't a second best smart contract platform, and Bitcoin is not designed to be a smart contract platform.
And people are kind of trying to mold it into doing that, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's very, very secure and it's very decentralized, and a lot of it has the richest developer community and developer tools, and I think when you add a little bit of the more kind of softer side of the founder process, I think that's when magic will happen, and then more and more people will start to pay attention to this. And then I think that in the next kind of 2 to 3 years is when, obviously Bitcoin will continue to attract a lot of liquidity from off-chain to on-chain, but so will Ethereum. And as more people kind of who wants to do more things than just hold on to their digital assets starts to become active participants in the industry. So I think that's how I see the process of Ethereum coming out, and where Scroll is positioned is a very close tied and very close partner to Ethereum, where we work on the scaling problem, and some of the tools and designs we've built and learned through building the ZK EVM will be implemented on L1 on the main chain. And I can see a lot of the new EIPs that we're building will be implemented back on the ETH L1 and main chain, and we're hoping to kind of support and build a lot of fantastic applications that can start reaching out of the crypto bubble by solving real problems.
I'm fascinated personally with the concept of influence, and not from the influencer, selfie style influence online, but more about how leaders and artists as well influence the world around them to make the change that they want to see in the world. And something you just said then around introducing your EIPs onto mainnet strikes me as this really fascinating influence problem. How do you influence a decentralized network to embrace change and incorporate your vision or Scroll's vision into the fundamentals of the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think Ethereum is a very permissionless program, and most EIPs are very bottoms up.
What do you mean by that? Sorry?
It just means some EIPs are imagined and also suggested by Vitalik or some of the Ethereum Foundation leaders, but most of it is very bottoms up. It just means anyone who
from the community, right.
Correct. That's the vast majority of EIPs, and so from the Scroll perspective, we're no different from any other community member who is discovering these problems and also suggesting things that our builders need.
Yeah, I love that. And through storytelling and the empowering the community to communicate the change, I guess that also helps the cause.
Yeah, correct.
With there's various applications of ZK across the industry. I mean, it's not completely new technology, right? It's been around for decades already in the finance sector, and this is a very particular moment in its evolution. But what kind of industries do you see benefiting from the technology outside of DeFi, which we've already spoken about?
I think the change. I think the industries that will be very, very quickly impacted will be banking and finance more broadly and payment. The wheels are already turning incredibly fast in these directions. And adjacent to it is kind of fundraising mechanisms, which touches every single sector, whether you're in healthcare or media or artist, kind of this equity raising and funding process touches every single sector. And we can already see sector-specific focuses such as DeSci, where people are exploring how to leverage on-chain capital to support more scientific discovery. We're also at the precipice of a lot of acceleration of scientific discovery. So how do you prioritize one problem versus another, one disease over another? Is the current funding mechanism through academic institutions and the biotech VC network, is that sufficient? I think there's a lot to be said for a more decentralized version and for people who are experts in these, healthcare and biomedical related fields to contribute and be incentivized to give their expertise, and for the community to support causes that they personally care about or are inflicted by. And so I think that is a democratization of funding allocation for the plethora of scientific discoveries that are now open to being resolved. So how do you prioritize that? And these are resource allocation problems that blockchain and the free market is particularly well equipped to solve. So I think I think there is a big gap between the perception of blockchain use case. So I think most people perceive blockchain as still meme coin, on-chain casino, and there isn't any. So that's one side of the spectrum. And on the other side of the spectrum, the industry has evolved and discovered enough that is pulling in serious interest in capital in a way that has not like externally manifested. And but the amount of building and acceleration that I'm seeing as an industry player is quite astounding. And I think the moment to kind of break out of the chasm to kind of go mainstream is probably in the next year or three. And we're constantly thinking about, as a Scroll, how do we position for that big crossing of the chasm moment. Building out faster and faster ZK proofs is something we will continue doing, and part of it is also about enabling founders and how to work with them and support them as they kind of leverage this technology and to apply it in whatever sector they are kind of they care about and are working in.
Is there a single unifying idea of what Scroll is right now? Like, could you articulate it in a sentence or two?
I think that sentence has evolved quite a little bit. Where we're currently at is that Scroll is about building the open economy. We're all about a future vision where there's ease of access, there's equal opportunity, there's upward mobility, and it's a future where resources is abundant. And it's and we want to build this future where connectivity between different parties and humans are completely permissionless, and there's a lot of trust. But trust is enabled by mathematics, which it's across the globe. Doesn't matter what political spectrum you're on or what geopolitical spectrum you're on. Everyone believes in the rules and powers of cryptography and mathematics. So at the underlying building blocks of this open economy, this rosy picture of everyone can work together and transact with each other and leverage all the huge unlock of economic value of AI will be enjoyed and shared in an equitable way. I think all of these things are the future that I think ZK is at the center of being able to unlock.
Do you think we need another word for trustless? Because I've always found it as a bit of a mind bending concept, and yeah, I'm really interested in trustless contracts between, for me as a creative, how we engage with clients and projects, and the idea of trustless transactions and interactions, removing that messy negotiation and humanness from the transaction. But it's always like given me pause when I have been speaking about trustlessness, because we're so used to talking about trust as an important factor, not trustlessness. Is there a way that you conceptualize how we can communicate that in a way that people outside of the industry or this sector of it can understand?
So I think the example I often use is that ZK is about, and blockchain in general, is about enabling a future where you're no longer asking someone to trust you. And I think banks in traditional finance fulfills this trust building intermediary sector where you trust the bank and the bank handles a lot of transactions for you. And now that intermediary is replaced by a decentralized ledger, and underneath this open economy of the trust is enabled by math.
Yeah, it's such a, I think where you talk about crossing the chasm, I think that's the part of the moment that we're going to see a significant shift, is when people understand the power of cryptography, of a trustless system, in being able to collaborate, in being able to do commerce around the world. That's what brought me into the space in the first place. So I'm really excited to see what you can do with that. We'll find an endpoint. I'd love to ask you about the people in particular that you bring in to Scroll Open. These devs, these young people who are passionate about the space, these specialists that are looking at achieving something in their own industry. If you were to put a call out to these people, how would you describe the opportunity, and what would you say to them?
Do you mind rephrasing the question?
Sure.
Call out to creators?
Yeah, if you're going to give a call out to people that you want to participate in Scroll Open, what would you say?
Yeah, I think Scroll Open is a program designed for people who have a mission and a problem in mind and want some guideline and some companionship and encouragement and sharing a kind of a study group, so to speak, and founders network to accelerate their problem-solving process. I think we've built it in a way that will hopefully be a launch pad and also a peer to more to people who want to spend their nights and weekends on working on themselves, betting on themselves, and improving their entrepreneurial capabilities.
So it's outside of Scroll in particular as well. It's all about like a holistic elevation of what they're doing.
Correct. That's right.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, well, I can't wait either.
Yeah. I've come here to Hong Kong for Consensus 2025, and it's overwhelming the amount of development that's in the space. Finally, I just wanted to touch on, I guess, the regional mission of Scroll and how you see your role in different regions around the world, and what you feel is important in that area.
I think part of the mission for Scroll, for building this open economy, is to to level up the global playing field. And we believe kind of talent is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunities are not. So part of this sharing of information and creating a distributed kind of cryptographic network of trust building is very much contributing to that grander vision. But uneven distribution happens in developed markets too. in Hong Kong and US, what I would consider affluent societies, there's also inequality and also situations where upward mobility is not as well designed as a part of the society fabric. And the existence of scroll, we would hope this could be a factor that contributes to pushing forward the level playing field.
And finally, I want to come back to you as you say, you're a first-time founder, but really you've had such an incredible career up until now. What are you creating at the moment that you're really passionate about? What's the things that I guess grab your imagination and draw you forward?
Yeah, I think as a founder, I'm very focused on creating the org. So creating the org means, setting up people internally, and also setting up people who are part of our community, and setting up our ecosystem founders for success. And so a lot of my time and attention is very people-centered. It's about what kind of group of people do we want to attract and retain as a part of this journey, and how do we help them get set up so that they are empowered and also motivated and very happy doing their life's work.
I love that. We might leave it there. I'll let you get on with the day. I know you've got a busy schedule, but thanks so much for sitting down to me. I know people listening to this, aspiring entrepreneurs, people that are in their specific industry, are going to take a lot out of it. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.